My name is Alvin J. Noss, Jr., and I was born in 1914 in Slocum. My father was an agent at Slocum, and his name was Alvin J. Noss, and my folks called me Junior and Joe and Joseph.
And you've been here 101 years next month?
I didn't quite get that.
And you will have lived here 101 years next month.
Oh yes, I will be
June.
101 years next month here in Slocum.
Always in Slocum, in the same house.
That's right, in the same house. About this picture of the Slocum station, those people sitting out in front are waiting for the morning train to go to the city. And this is where my father worked, and here there's two doors in front. The one on the right is the waiting room for the men. The one on the left is the ladies' waiting room. And the inside on the left, on the right rather, was a inside there was weigh scales, a pair of scales, and of course a ticket window. And there was something else I think of just now, is that when my father made entries in a ledger, he did it with an indelible pencil, and after that was done, he would have a damp something laid over and pressed down. That indelible writing would turn to ink, and it made it a permanent record.
How many cars on the train, Mr. Noss?
It would be, the train would come in, would have two passenger cars. One would be a smoker, and the other would be a regular car with no smoking. And in front of that would be a railway mail car, and a baggage car, and the first car behind the engine would be what we call a milk car. When the train stopped there was another platform on the other side, the crossing, with a big high-wheel cart, and it had a 20-gallon can of milk on it. It was brought down from a farm up in Exeter along Liberty Road, and that was drawn over to close to the rail car, and would put aboard the rail car and taken into the city for processing.
And what was the name of the train line?
That would be on the New Haven Railroad, at that time called the New York, New Hartford and Railroad Company.
And your father was the agent for how long?
My father worked here from 1912 to 1928. And that was the beginning of the Depression. And of course he had a chance to go to another station in Massachusetts, where because of his seniority, he was able to bump someone out of a job, and that was kind of bad. There's the view, the rear of this station shows the crossing, and yeah. Well, this is still the roof of the front. Shows the.
You want this one?
Yeah, that's okay. This is we got the tower there, which would be the control tower for the trains. They call that a block tower because this is set up in blocks from station to station, and the towerman had control of the trains through his area. He got this. He got his directions from the dispatcher in Providence over a telephone that he had, a railway telephone, not like an original common telephone we use in our houses. And he had those, in the tower, he had big control levers. He had control of the switches and control of the semaphore signals, and they were controlled by those big levers, by wires that were threaded through under the tracks and on little pulleys. And so sometimes it was pretty hard to pull that over. The switches would be harder to pull than the signals because they were just harder to pull, and they had to pull on those levers, pretty levers, put the foot up on Tom and put his foot up on one lever and pull on the other lever and pull it right over. So
how many trains a day?
There were at least 2 trains a day that and toward the end of it. Before that, there was actually, I believe there was a train in the morning and a train at night, and there were trains at noon for a while.
Tell me about the white flag trains. The special trains, the white flag trains?
Oh, there's some trains came through that were specials. They weren't regular scheduled trains. There were specials and run for a certain purpose or run for passenger run for I can't think what it is. Excursions, like, and they would have the white flag showing that to be as sort of an extra train. Let's see.
And how many people would be down at the station on a given day?
And there'd be only people that are taking a train to the city or coming from the city, and there hardly be anybody else down there that I could ever remember.
But your father was busy. But your father was a busy man with the freight.
Yes, he was a busy man with the. My father had the freight there, and not kept him entirely busy though, because while he had to go out to the freight house and check the freight that had come in, perhaps in the afternoon from a local freight, things like that. It wasn't terribly busy from that standpoint. They had time off in the afternoon, was so slack, and the tarman had time off too, because at times there were trains were quite some distance away, like coming out of Boston or coming out of New Haven and so forth. So we had quite a bit of time before we had to do anything, like put the gates down or catch any emergency from the dispatcher, anything you might say. And so my father and the towerman would go out behind the tower where he had some stakes set up, and they'd pitch horseshoes for about whatever time they had, maybe 20 minutes or so. Not too long. I have to go back to work, you know, because something might come, trains might come. Well, they have a schedule for that, but he has to be ahead of time. So there's a view looking behind the buildings.
Where was the horseshoe pit?
Pardon?
Where was the horseshoe pit?
Oh, behind this building here.
Behind this building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Behind that building.
All right. Now here's the station.
This is the other. This is the view of the buildings from the roadside. There's the back view of the tower and the station, and other buildings down to the left of the station, down the track, would be a baggage, probably for Railway Express to keep it safe until it's picked up. And there's a coal shed for supply of coal to keep them warm. And,
Tell me the soft coal story.
the freights used to go through there, bringing carloads of coal. The coal was something used quite a bit in those days, and so those trains would climb up Wickford Hill and go down the other side. That's by the Dry Bridge Road, and they would get to bouncing a little bit. It can't help it sometimes. The freights travel along, the cars kind of bounce, and the coal would be heaped up on the cars, and it would roll off from time to time, and along those stretches where the tracks are rough and the trains go fast. And those coal could be picked up, which I did at times. My brother and I picked up some coal. We used it to heat the post office that my mother had. So that was a help.
Can you list all the buildings in that picture? What they were, each one? What each building was? There was the baggage one.
No, I didn't get that.
Pardon?
I didn't get
what each building is?
What they are.
Yeah, what they are. And the one that still stands today?
Oh, the one, I mean, yes, the building across the track was a grocery store at the time. And that would make two stores in Slocum. The one behind us in this view, and of course this is the signal tower and the station. And I guess I mentioned these before. There was another building, I think was a Railway Express building for storage there, and a coal shed. And this is the corner of Union Corner Road, and Slocum Road goes off to the left, or straight off to the left.
And how was it, did you ever work the handcart? Did you ever work the handcart kept in the building?
There was a handcart used to bring the mail from the store, from the trains over to the post office, but I didn't see much of that.
Now Now, can you describe for me how the steam train worked?
Oh, here we are. Yeah. This is a train going downhill. Looks like it's going downhill down Wickford Hill toward Wickford Junction. And it looks like it's pulling tank cars. There's one tank car in the view. I haven't a picture of the coal cars, but they would be like it wouldn't be hopper cars, but it'd be ordinary open cars to hold coal. So I don't have a view of that. I couldn't. It's hard to describe.
And you had a story about the coal for lad school?
Oh yes, there's on the in front of the station, just to the right of the railroad station, a ways in the view of the front view of the railroad station. There was a sidetrack for freight, and there was a freight office was located there, freight building, and had a platform. Sometimes the freight cars would be brought in and have maybe one item or something to be left in Slocum, and they'd open up the doors and trundle out the item, whatever it is, and take it into the freight office, freight station, freight building, and also they were brought in coal cars there too, and left them to be unloaded. These were to be unloaded and taken by horse and wagon up to lad school. On the way, it was quite a long trip, so they didn't take it all in one trip, but it took them along Railroad Avenue and had a place in the field there where they dumped the coal and go back and get another load and get the coal cars emptied as soon as possible. And that's why they didn't take a load or several loads, maybe at one time, up to lad school, because they were in a hurry to unload the coal cars, because they were charged demurrage for every day beyond, say, 3 days or so allowed for unloading. So then it had to be, of course, reloaded again from the field and taken over to lad school. So I've seen those people that work on there. In fact, I knew one of them at one time. He'd come in the store after or while he was working or so on a break or something, and he was covered with coal dust from head to foot. It's a tough job unloading coal by hand from a car like that. All has to be shoveled out, big coal shovels.
Then you told me about the railroad ties that came from Exeter. The railroad ties that came from Exeter?
Yes. Another ship was made from Slocum. Would be railroad ties. It was done once that I know of. There was a portable sawmill was set up in the woods up along Liberty Road in Exeter, and those ties were sawed up into railroad ties into the length and breadth and size of them. And I believe they were a little bit undersized or a little short ones, so that was purpose, because that's all they had for wood to work with on the trees. They were called, I think, like number 2 ties up there. Not a first-class railroad tie, but a number 2. They were stacked up in the yard behind the buildings, like behind the tower and behind the railroad station. There's a long space there where stuff could be, railroad ties could be tied up there, stacked up. And so one day an inspector came by and stamped everyone, I guess. I believe it was everyone, probably, and stamped them for approval. They were accepted, and later they were shipped out, and I never saw them go, or they disappeared.
You wanted
Probably by freight or something.
Did you want a glass of water?
I suppose, I don't know how the farmers got the potato seed potatoes, because I never noticed where they come from, where they were shipped in. I don't know where they come by freight or by rail or not. They did later from the other place further down the line. There was a siding called Tucker Siding, and they brought in seed potatoes there. They went to a farmer along Exeter Road. I've forgotten his name, but
No, you used to handle the newspapers from the train, right? You and your brother? When you were a kid? You and your brother used to deliver the paper from the train?
There was a time there when I had a chance to get a newspaper route, and so we got newspapers that came by Providence and Boston papers, both of them, and they came by train, and on Sunday morning, and they were as the train went through Slocum, it slowed a little bit, and they were kicked off the baggage car, wherever they come in. They kicked off on the ground, and sometimes they'd land down by the freight office. Sometimes they'd be up another way, and the towerman, the night towerman there, would notice where they come, and a lot of times he'd go down and pick them up for me and leave them by the station. And at that time, my father was no longer there. This was since 1928, and he'd been working in Massachusetts at that time, and be home weekends probably. So my brother and I would pick up the newspapers, and we'd divide our routes and go in the office, in the station, and on the long benches that we used for passengers, we spread out our newspapers and put them together. They came in sections, different sections in one bundle, and other sections, other bundle. So we all had to put them together so they'd be the right sections in the right place. And I load up mine, and I'd ride my bicycle. I'd go way down to Route 2, what is now called Route 2, and deliver newspapers all the way down to that point. My brother would go up the other way. He'd go up to Slocum Road, up to possibly the top of the hill near Yargo Bakes, in that area. So we'd be all done by 11 o'clock or so. And newspapers were 10 cents a copy in those days. But the carrier before us was charging 12 cents. So we continued that, charging 12 cents a copy. And several places get like 25 cents. Someone would give you extra money once in a while. It'd be the same person generally would give you extra money, like 25 cents instead of 12 or something.
Now you remember when it wasn't a turf field here, it was Brayburn apples and cattle?
Didn't get that.
You remember when the farm was actually an orchard for Brayburn apples and cattle?
No, I don't remember that. No.
The cattle? The orchard, the cattles?
Oh, the cattle, yes.
Yeah.
The cattle had all the field behind our property was a barbed wire fence, and there was cattle on the other side. And one of our neighbors was what's the name for that? What they did helped the farmer that owned the cattle and owned the farm. There's a name for that, and I can't think of it. What he did, what his job was, would be to take care of the cattle and whatever needed to be done, you know, and something to do with milking them too. It was milk, and I used to go up to the farm and get a quart or two of milk in bottles, regular milk bottles.
And didn't you used to go visit a woman with with your milk can? Didn't you used to get your milk can and go ride your bike to a woman's house?
Yes, I did that too. Sometimes I'd go to a place on Slocum Road. Mrs. Lindeman lived there. Her husband had a well drilling business, and he had the equipment set up in his backyard like a tall tower where he would drive deep wells that way. So I used to go there. She kept a cow, and I'd ride over my bicycle, and I have an aluminum can with a bale on it and a cover, so milk wouldn't slop out. And I still have that can. And I used to have that on my handlebars on the bicycle, and ride over and get milk. I come in with my hands so cold, I wanted to warm them up, you know. I want to put them in hot water, warm them up. And she said, don't put them in hot water, get them warm dry, or else they'll freeze on you quick again. So.
Can you tell me some of the stories about the accidents down at the crossing?
There's on the crossing there was a truck with a flatbed behind it, like what we see today, pulling loads with turf on them, but this was an empty flatbed being taken across the track from Indian Corner Road side to Railroad Avenue side, and it didn't get all the way across. It got stuck with a flatbed on the railroad track, and the cab of the engine was off the track because it's a long flatbed. And it was a bumpy railroad kind of, because the rails were higher than the roadbed between the rails. Generally, just a little bit, enough to make it bumpy or something. And something happened with the brakes on the tractor, and so it locked up, and he couldn't drive it. He couldn't go ahead, and so before anything could be done about it, to get him off the track of the train coming, and it hit the flatbed and threw it right across onto the other side. On the other side of the railroad tracks, and damaged the engine so that it couldn't be run. And this was a diesel engine, not steam. And so it ran up the track a little way, like beyond the crossing a little ways, of train length or so, and it was held there. And the passengers on board were kept until half an hour later or so. They sent down a train from Providence and picked up the passengers, brought it on the other track, and picked up the passengers. They just walked across from one train to another while there were trains side by side, the doors together, so they were just stepped across from one train to the other. So they took the passengers off, and then they took care of that. There was, maybe are you referring to the question about where the name Slocum's? I often wondered where that name Slocum's, or the S come from, to make it Slocum Station, because the name board on the station was Slocum's, not Slocum. And the thought I had, and I don't know if anywhere near right or not, is that during the early days, there was perhaps a person that lived in Slocum, and he was someplace near the tracks, and he probably met the trains way back in the early days. The early time I think of, and I have no idea that it's right or not, it would be like as early as the Providence and Stonington Railroad, as before the New Haven, where this person, let's call him Mr. Slocum, I don't know if that's right or not, and he met the trains, and so his place would be called Slocum's. The conductor would call off the name Slocum's for the train, the station stop, and they still did for as long as trains stopped there. The conductor would approaching Slocum Station would call out Slocum's, and
that building burnt.
And that building burnt, and it was thought that was caused by sparks from a railroad engine, from a train going through, steam trains then, and that could be sparks. I thought it was that burned it down.
Now, you used to take the train to school?
And there was a time when we went to high school. There was several kids went to high school taking the train. At least myself and possibly my brother, and there were I can see at least 3 others I can remember. All took the train for a time, not for, I don't know how long this would be, a year or two to school, and maybe they dropped out of school and didn't take it anymore after a while, I don't know. but that was taking a train to school would be getting on at Slocum, getting off at Wickford Junction, and where the used to be a railroad connection from Wickford Junction to Wickford. That was long gone, and so they had a railroad operated, not railroad operated, but a subsidiary of the railroad, and I can't think of the name of it at the moment, but it was a bus. And so that was the bus that took us down, and the driver let us off at the high school. He made the connection from Wickford Junction to Wickford. And
can you tell me about the plane crash?
Are we talking about
With the propeller plane? You had to get the gas down at
Yeah.
Wilson's?
It was a time when, one time, way back when there were just small aircraft, there wasn't a regular aircraft transportation or anything like that like today, but this small plane came by Slocum and apparently ran out of gas in Slocum, and so he landed in a hayfield, that belonged to the same person that had the cows, but in a different part. This was the hayfield over on the near the junction of Indian Corner Road and Exeter Road, not too far from that junction, and so a number of people went up to see him, including myself and so forth, see what's going on, and so he sent for gas from the store in downtown Slocum, so to speak, and there was gas pumps there at one time. Mr. Wilson had sold gas, and this is a diversion. I bought gas there for, I think, 25 cents a gallon, way back. Anyway, he got gas, got it to get him started. Not like a self-starter or anything like that. He has to be started by spinning the propeller. And to do that is kind of tricky, because you got to, so they got three guys get a hold of the what they call the prop of the propeller, and one guy gets a hold of the prop, and the other two, one takes his hand to pull him away, and the other one takes the hand of that one and pull him away. So the three guys, one guy pulling the prop, and it gets it up there and gets it at a point where it can get a good pull on it. And he pulled it down hard, and the other guys pulled him away quick. And do that, I think probably had to do that a couple of times to get it, at least get it primed. And it started up, and the guys have pulled away safely, of course. And so he took off.
Now
He loaded, yeah.
I'm sorry. You told me about your father's first car. What it was like to start your father's first car.
Yeah.
Remember that story? You told me I couldn't do it.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, you said I wouldn't physically be able to start that car.
You wouldn't be able to drive it, probably.
Oh, drive it? Is that what you told me?
You wouldn't be able to drive it. No.
Why?
Well, it doesn't drive like today's cars at all. There's three pedals inside there, and a handbrake. And the first pedal, I'm trying to think now myself. First pedal would be for low gear. You want to climb a hill or something, you got first pedal, low gear. This middle pedal is for reverse. You press that pedal down and you go back. And right hand pedal would be the brake, hand would be the foot brake. And so when you're going to go start up, go forward, you press the first pedal. That would give it a low gear, and you'll run it a few feet until you get up a little speed, and you let go, and just let it up, and you're in high gear.
How old were you when you got your first car? Your father got the first car.
I probably was maybe 13, 14. Not up to driving age. So.
What did you do before you had a car?
We traveled before we had a car. We would go anywhere. Like we traveled by train. We'd go into the city, travel by train. But we didn't go like short distances to the beach or anything like that until we had a car. We really didn't need to, because from that standpoint, because we had grocery stores and other store for dry goods and everything in town, in Slocum.
And what did the bread man do when there were snowdrifts?
And he got the bread. He got bread there every day in Mr. Wilson's grocery store. And during the winter time, there'd be some big storms and snow drifts, and it's difficult. The road would be really blocked, and you couldn't get through there. But the bread man, we always just say, the bread man always got through. And they got through because he was able to, because of the wind and the snow, blew drifts across the field and bare spots. So he was able to find all the bare spots where he turned onto Indian Corner Road at the beginning part, and find his way across all the fields on there, because bare spots and other spots were not quite so bare, would still be able to maneuver them and get through. So we used to say the bread man always got through.
More than the mailman?
What's that?
More than the mailman? You know how they say the mail always gets delivered, but for you it was the bread always
that
got
mail,
delivered?
the mail always, the mail always came off the train. We never got the mail anywhere else but off the train. And so, from the Railway Express. And there was at that time too, you could say you lived in say Westerly or Shannock, and you wanted to write a letter to somebody in Slocum. It would be delivered. You could write it, and before the ink was dry, you could almost mail it and get it posted on the train. Meet the train, have somebody put down for it, hand it to the railway clerk, mail clerk, and it would sort them out on the train. Mail will be sorted out and bagged for different station stops, and the one for Slocum will be thrown off at Slocum. I say thrown off, but set off. I mean, the train stopped and you picked it. It was set off. So and delivered to the post office, and it could be delivered, and you could read you could see your mail the same day or a few hours, actually. I've known that to happen once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me about your experience when you were bagging the potatoes.
About potatoes.
Potato. Tell me about the potato fields.
Potato shed, potatoes were bagged and brought in to the potato shed, put on scales, and it would bag. The bags were on the scales so that we'd have the right weight, and they'd twist up these two sides of the top of the potatoes, make like ears, and we'd have like a needle and a bit of heavy, almost like little, like twine or stronger than that, and wind it around the ears and put the pin through to kind of make it stay, and have the two ears. You could pick up the bag with those two ears on the two ears of the bag itself that were wound that way, and put them on hand trucks and wheel it into a waiting truck that was up the right by the end of the platform of the farm, where the potatoes were sorted out and loaded right into the truck. I used to help with that and run the hand trucks into the truck and put the bags in the deeper part of the truck, and then go get some more bags to help load the truck up, so forth. And there's where the truck matched the platform, was a little bump there, and I used to like to go push that truck over the bump, and it'd make a nice little, bounce there. And the boss came over and he told me, he said, "Don't do that till you get them bruised that way." So I stopped. But I don't know what happened to potatoes. They just went into the city, and what was done with them next. Whether they just went into the general market, I don't know.
Now this was your other job, right?
What I have?
The other job where you used to sit on the back of the sprayer?
Oh yeah, so this was, of course, before the potatoes, there were potato vines. They were growing there, and they had, my father used to say that was the biggest flower garden in Slocum, was all the potatoes, all in blossom. And so then they were dug, and the digger brought them along and over sort of tracks on the digger, and there were dirt shook out and so forth. They were laid out there in the sun, so they had to be picked up before they were sunburned. So the guys would come along and they'd pick up the big potatoes, the regular ones, and us younger people would come along. We'd pick up what we call pig potatoes. They were small, say about sometimes as big as say inch across. Or they were small potatoes. They wouldn't pass for regular potatoes you find in the store nowadays. And so they were put into a bushel basket. We load up bushel baskets, and we got 5 cents a basket. We get maybe make $1 a day or something like that, doing that.
What would you do with your dollar?
And what was that, Don?
What would you do with your dollar?
With my dollar?
What would you do with your dollar?
I really don't know. Maybe I went into a piggy bank, who knows?
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you ran down to the store and...
Well, that would go a long ways, I think, even down to the store.
Were you here when the barn burnt on Brow Farm? Were you here when that happened?
I was, but I didn't see it. I think that was, my wife saw that one, I think. A little bit. It's not much, it was nothing, it was put out. There was apparently no lasting damage at all there.
Now your mother was the postmistress?
Yes.
What years was that?
Well, I don't have that figure at hand. I think it's on a...
She was the postmistress in that building? In the
Yeah,
was that
yeah.
the 30s she was a postmistress?
In the, I would say in the 30s, yes, in the 30s. In the 30s. But I don't know the dates, because there's a postmaster list that gives the dates on all the things. And she was also a postmaster in the general store down the corner. But she moved up here because Mr. Wilson wanted the space that was used for the post office down there for adding a section for dry goods and so forth, and overalls and shoes and stuff.
Now there was somebody who lived in this house, right?
And on the other side of the house, there's a section there that was a retired railroad man lived there, and he didn't have any. He was retired. He had a garden down back. He had a high chicken fence around it, and I guess he grew mostly onions. I could remember that. And see, it was.
And tell me a story about your friend, Mr. Mumford.
Mr. Mumford.
Your best friend there, Mr. Mumford?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Mr. Mumford. He his eyesight wasn't good, so he couldn't drive a car, and so it didn't stop him from getting around. He had a horse and wagon, and he got around. He went to Slocum, went to Wickford, and used to haul kids around like on a hayride at one time, and did other chores. And so he made out. He had a little white dog with him. I did know the name of that dog, but I don't remember it now. Was always with him.
Was he in the schoolhouse with you? Was he in the one-room schoolhouse with you?
Yeah, he did go to school with me. There's well, he's had. He lived up in on the end of Railroad Avenue and Exeter Road, and he didn't travel the trains to school with me, but he did go to Belleville School, as I did at one time in my 7th and 8th grade. I went into Belleville School, and he did too as a 7th grader. And we both graduated from Belleville School as an 8th grader. So we did 2 grades in 1 year. So he went into high school a year earlier than we normally would. A lot of the time, I guess, Mr. Mumford, his father, drove both of us to school in his truck, and through the winter at least. And other times I don't know. I did go to Belleville School by train at times, and the school teacher lived in Wickford Junction, and she drove to Belleville School, and she picked me up. We went there. So.
What was it like in the one-room schoolhouse?
Belleville School was a two-room house, but the Slocum School was a one-room house, schoolhouse, and all 7 grades, all eight grades were in one room. I don't know. It was hard to say what it was like. It's just all there. Some were studying, some were doing this or doing that at different times. So there's only one teacher, so she took some of the kids for some instructions and so on. And they all got. And the one-room school was right next door to our house, and they got their drinking water in a bucket, and they got it from our well. They lowered down the regular, what do you call it, like a windlass or something, I don't know. Lower the bucket down, and it would tip and get the water, and you crank it up, and when it comes up, it would catch a spout and tip and pour it out, and they have their bucket there and catch the water, and they keep it and they bring it back to the school. There'd be a place there where they, in a back room where the bucket would be for drinking, and there'd be a dipper set there too. So on the other school would be in Belleville School, where I went for the last 2 grades, and was two-room school there, and Mrs. Hendrick was the teacher there that lived in Wickford Junction. Took me down to school when I was on the train, when I went by train, and she had one eye, so one eye was a glass eye. I was kind of curious about that. She made out she could see what the people were doing, so they didn't fool her with one eye.
So, Mr. Noss, what is it like to go from a one-room schoolhouse to using a computer at nearly 101?
It was, I would almost say it was nearly seamless.
God cracks me up.
Seamless. You just took it.
Is that the secret, Mr. Noss? Is that the secret? You just take it?
You just take it. It's seamless. But there was difficulties along the way, but they were taken care of because I had help. Of course, my first computer was given to me by my daughter's friend, and of course my daughter had had a computer of her own. She had taken classes on computer technology and so forth, so she was able to help me through all the difficulties and get started and so forth. And then from there, as I did things myself, I tend to remember them a little, so I'd get stuck again. And there were times when I did get stuck, and I'd just get on the phone and call my daughter up, and she'd put me square on it.
Now, you were a draftsman?
Yes, I was where I worked in a place that supplied equipment to treat water, potable water, and also wastewater. and so the equipment that our company handled was of various types, you know, and we had to make the machines to handle them too. And I think one of the things we handled was a corrosive liquid. I can't think what it is. It would be chlorine, I'm not sure. It was a very corrosive liquid. We didn't handle it, but we provided the equipment for handling it. And that would be used to treat probably wastewater. And from the diagrams that were given from the customer, had piping laid out for their layout to work their layout. They would, according to their plans and so forth, the pipe had to be so long, and so the elbows and where the pipes went, and they had to be, all the pipes had to be lined, rubber lined, and they were, of course the rubber lining makes certain thickness too, and so we would buy that rubber lining and ship it to this place. So part of my job was at that point was to from the plans and so forth, lay that out and give the dimensions for all the rubber line piping to be purchased. And I had a supervisor at work told me to give me my jobs to do and so forth, and I was one of them at that time. And I gave him my dimensions. I had all laid out. He checked them over and found no mistakes.
I'm not surprised.
And so,
well, can you tell me about this picture, Mr. Noss?
This
picture.
That picture, oh yes. That's a photo of my three children. They're standing under the signboard of the Slocum station. It was set up, and they're standing in the very spot where the stations used to stand, where their grandfather worked. That's quite a picture. That the station's gone, but the signboard overhead says Slocum's, and they were right there where their grandfather used to work. And that's long gone now. Even that's not around.
But you're still here.
Pardon?
But you're still here.
Yeah. So far, yes. So.
Your history.
Well, Jim had a question.
I know you're getting tired, but
No, that's okay.
what about World War II? Were you in the war?
I was in the war. I was in the service 4.5 years. So I was drafted in June 1941. Went to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, and there were signs posted around the barracks and so forth about an opportunity to go to school and learn all about radar. And I looked at those and looked at those and looked at those, and I decided to do something. So it was about 2 or 3 months, no, 3 or 4 months later, I went to the officers, and I applied for that training. And the result is that I was commissioned second lieutenant and sent with 49 others to England. From these others came from various places. They came from civilian life. They came from other military organizations, and there were 50 of us, and we went by train to Montreal and to Halifax, and took convoy, and we landed in Liverpool, England on Christmas Day. I remember that. It was on Christmas Day we landed in. We had a rough crossing. No submarines, thankfully, but a rough crossing. There was big highways, and the different ships. Some of them were really rock a lot in the rough water, and I remember our ship. I was standing at the back rail of it, and I would be way above the water. Then the ship would go down. And when it goes down, the wave goes under it, and the ship goes down, and you feel a little light-footed there. So anyway, we made the trip, and I spent I went to radar school then just outside London, and near Richmond. We were divided in different sections. Some of us went to one type of radar, ground laying radar, and others went to aircraft radar, and some other, I think there's 3 separate groups, but I was in the ground laying radar. They call it ground laying. It covered radar to cover, it was ground radar, but it could cover aircraft and guide the guns so that the aircraft could be brought down by gunfire, and not necessarily direct hit, but close enough so that when the shell exploded, they could take in a wide area. And so that's what we learned in school, and I was about, we worked in Nissen huts. We went to school in Nissen huts, was kept warm. Nissen huts are very much like Quonset huts that we have in this country, but they were made there, Nissen huts, and they were heated by kerosene stoves on each end of the building, and we had our desks, tables to work on, notes, paper. Well, it was pretty cold there. You almost need to have gloves on your hands to write with. But anyway, it was a couple of weeks there. Our instructor was a British officer, and he could go through complicated formulas. In fact, I don't know my math now, but calculus or some other, you could go through that and almost by he was an instructor, so it would be that. But anyway, I was going to say that it was about 2 weeks before I really understood him, because he was speaking the English language instead of the American language, which is a bit of a difference. Yeah, so then we were assigned to, after there about 6 months, so we were assigned to different areas. I was assigned to a British outfit in the South Wales area, and there we were assigned to British radar units there. And one of the things I did at one time there was to calibrate a radar so that when a radar, say, sees a target, and that the guns that the radar sees the target, that the target is really there, so it had to be calibrated. So we did that, and I did that with a hydrogen balloon. There's a crew came in with a hydrogen balloon, and they put it up, and we knew how far it was, and so the aircraft, the radar targeted it, and it had to be there or had to be calibrated. So we had to, I did details of calibration, I don't recall now entirely, but we did that, and then I know at one point we brought the balloon down to finish, on the finish of the job, as we bring the balloon down straight up at a certain level, there's a strong crosswind or something, so the balloon was drawn way over, and almost as much as the guys could hold it from being dragged off. But you wind it down more, and then come to calmer air again. So there's some point there's a strong wind that's above, it's already way above. There's a strong wind at a certain level, and then down below it's all calm again. So it's something there I never knew before. And that was in South Wales, so.
Did you do all your service there?
No, and I came back, and we were all sent back to New Jersey. We were sent to Florida for more school, and this was for American radar. And we finished that class, and then we were assigned to different parts of the country. I was sent to, me and another fellow was sent to the West Coast, to the Seattle area, and I was located at McCord Field, and it so happens that my son lives in Puyallup, Washington now, which is only a stone throw from McCord Field, and it's kind of curious. And then from there back to Florida, and then assigned to a team of radar, what do they call it, the 12th Signal Radar Maintenance Unit. A radar maintenance unit. I was in the 12th. There were a number of them, and each with one officer and 4 enlisted men. And the 4 enlisted men have different categories of work, or categories of what they do. I can't think of that word either. I had one fellow was supposed to be pretty good on engines, gasoline engines, things like that, and 3 guys were good on radar and radio sort of things. So they would be a big help, because where we had to go would be to maintain American radar that controlled guns, so that they target or lock onto an aircraft that was an enemy aircraft. It could, by means of cables connected to the guns, and the guns could be pointed at that target. And so that's what we had to maintain and keep going. We had never a problem. Never had any action of that. It never came about.
You got out when the war ended?
Yeah, and of course when the war ended, they came across. Oh, not interesting thing going over as a radar team to go. The second trip over was over the water too, by convoy from New York Harbor, New York City. That was on the ship we were on. Troop ship was a Italian liner, diesel operated, and that one in convoy we had the bad luck of having it break down, and so we stood there in the water just floating, and a convoy and all the convoy protection and so forth disappeared over the horizon. So that was about 3 or 4 hours, not overnight. So they had it fixed, and we started up, and we was able to catch up with the convoy. So that was a kind of a iffy place. We stuck in the water with no power.
Sitting ducks.
So it, and we came back on the former passenger ship. I think it was named the U.S. America, into Boston. So we landed into Boston on that trip, and that was a rough trip too. I saw in the dining room on that ship there was a inclinometer, I guess you call it. It told how there's a needle there that tipped how far the ship rolled, and it was in winter time. It was in December. It was a rough trip. The trip, there's an inclinometer. I think I saw that. I made a mental note of it. 45 degrees. The inclinometer indicated.
The bow and stern, or
Side
to side?
Side to side,
Did
yeah.
you get seasick?
45 degrees?
45 degrees.
Did you ever get seasick?
What's that?
Did you ever get seasick?
No, I never got seasick. No, I never was seasick.
And he takes no meds.
Never was seasick at all. On that trip coming back to Boston, the first of us that were on the ship, the officers, they made us military police for the trip. We had an armband, you know, and so we just go around, make sure things are right on the trip. I just stopped. Not supposed to have gambling. I see a bunch of guys on the corner, and they were gambling. It's all right to play cards, but not money. You not have money in sight. So take care of that, and then you go down in the hold on other trips where you go. Because the holds are all boarded up to make places for people to sleep. This is like a troop ship going back. And you can't have any smoking or any fire in that area. You don't want to get a ship afire. So that's one thing to do, is make sure there's no smoking on board. So my trips through those different areas like that, I run across a place where people are smoking. So I go to the guy in charge, the captain, tell him stop this boys from smoking. So, I mean, it's things like that.
You kept everybody safe.
Keep things in order.
Yeah.
It's, so.
Picking these up, Mr.
Oh,
Noss.
this is Spike.
The spike.
Oh, yeah.
I'm picking up the train
Show
stuff.
the new one.
The new spike or the bull?
To the right.
Yeah, I'm trying
no,
to think.
no, the other one.
No, those bolts.
Oh, the twisty one. Yeah.
The new style. There's the new style.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this stuff here, this is used today.
So that's the modern, that's
Not that
that's
one.
from your time?
All these tracks have to be just so.
This-
I'm trying to
this is,
save money. I'm just thinking of.
This is used, that's a
you
spring.
miss the thing and it's running along
That's
the
used
track.
today.
What if
That's
it's
what they
just
use
off
now.
by a-
That's you go
Works.
down,
It's worked for years and years.
if you can look on a track briefly, I mean, trains come there pretty fast, and if you're not trespassing, you'll see that these around there, they hold the rail to these. They hold the rail to
the tie?
to the concrete ties.
Yeah.
And I understand that down at Davisville, well, you know where the Davisville Public Library is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a railroad crossing there.
Yeah.
You go over the bridge.
Yep.
Okay. Right near there, you travel. What street is that? That goes.
It's Route 403. I forget the name.
No,
of it.
this is a town road or
Baptist
Road.
Old Baptist Road.
Old Baptist Road. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a big high fence there.
Yeah.
You know, a big high fence. That fence was put up because of these.
But they would pop.
Sometimes they come loose.
Mhm.
I understand. This is what I have heard, and they go flying.
Jeez. I
And
wondered why that was there. I mean, it is right next to the road.
they go flying, and so they put up that fence because they don't want them to come in there, those houses there.
Do you know what this is, Mr. Noss?
Well, this not really, but if it's around the railroad, because those ties, the rails are held together with. I'm trying to think. I think they call them fish plates. Does that make sense?
Some kind of plate, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And those are bolted through. And I think there's a square here, so that keeps them from turning. And that's because that's old, been around a while.
Did you put it in?
No. Maybe that fellow put them in that worked and that lived in the house next to the post office.
Oh, the Italian man?
The
I thought
Italian
his name
man.
somewhere.
His name is Rocco Spadella.
Rocco. So Rocco
Not too
put the,
Italian. No, that's
that's why he grew a lot of onions.
Yeah, grew onions, yeah.
Yeah.
He was great at growing.
So do you remember how this all started, Mr. Noss?
What?
Do you remember how this all started with Jim and everything? Do you remember how we started doing this?
No, I still don't quite get your point there.
Do you remember why we started doing this?
Talking about history.
Why we started
Slocum
doing what we're doing right now? I do.
What did we do?
Jim found this postcard.
Oh, the Split Rock. Split Rock. Yeah, that's what started it all.
So Jim found this postcard, which says Split Rock, Slocum's, Rhode Island. He emails me and said, "What is this?" And he goes, "Should we ask Mr. N?" So I emailed you a copy of it. Then you started emailing me back various ideas you had.
You had it posted in the post office too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were trying to find Split Rock. We were asking people. We had to post it. Ernie and I went driving around to Split Rock, but nobody knows this Split Rock. So then
Not easy to find.
So then you end up starting working on the project, and you remembered that somebody told you about this in the 30s.
It has something to do with the railroad track too.
Yeah, someone from the railroad.
Well, it was the second. This is after the railroad station was closed. The railroad crossing still had to be kept open and cared for, watched for, and so a person that worked in the tower was no longer a towerman, but he was a crossing watchman, a different person. He put the gates up and down when the trains came, see. So me and another fellow was up there, and on the evening shift, or the second shift, the watchman is a friendly person, so we go up and we talk with him, you know. And so he had been one that had traveled, hunted all through that area, you know, through Liberty Road and all through there. He lived in, he lived down at the, down toward, near the curve of the track, where the curve goes toward Kingston again. What's that road? Wolfwalk Road.
Oh, okay.
Wolfwalk Road. He lived down toward Wolfwalk Road. And so he told me about that. So I think I went in there and I found it, about just where he said it was, and I walked through it. Long before you found it again.
Yes. And then, so Mr. Noss looks at, what was it, satellite pictures when you
Yeah,
did this?
there's a Google Earth.
Google Earth, he finds what he thinks is Split Rock, gives me the coordinates.
Yeah,
Then Ernie and I go hiking out to Split Rock.
yeah.
So then we take you out to Split Rock,
Hmm.
and Mr. Noss goes
Yeah.
to Split Rock.
There we
Up this other side.
go. Oh, that's it.
And you went through Split Rock.
Oh, yeah. There I am. You can walk through that.
Yeah, you did. I did too.
Yeah, so then
I was thinking of the pictures.